The courtroom was completely silent. Every eye in the room was fixed on one man, Brandon Cole. The billionaire. The genius. The monster. Sitting in his chair, arms crossed, a smug smirk stretched across his face. He refused to stand. At the front of the room, Judge Maya Carter, the young, brilliant woman who had made history as the first black woman to hold this position, watched him from the bench. Her expression? Impossible to read. Mr. Cole, her voice was steady, calm, but firm. In my courtroom, everyone stands when the judge enters. Brandon let out a loud scoff. Not today, he said, leaning back with a smirk. Not for you. A wave of gasps rippled through the courtroom. Even the security guards shifted uncomfortably. Lawyers exchanged uneasy glances. The cameras were rolling. The world was watching. Yet, Maya didn't flinch. She simply tilted her head, studying him like a puzzle she had already solved. Then, she did something that no one expected. Without breaking eye contact, she reached for her gavel and bam! Just 24 hours earlier, the world had looked completely different for Brandon Cole. Untouchable, unstoppable. The king of Wall Street, the mastermind behind Cole Industries, a trillion-dollar empire. Money, power, influence. He didn't just have it, he controlled it. Entire industries bent to his will. Politicians were in his pocket, and with a single word, he could dictate the future of global markets. But his arrogance? That had always been his downfall. And this time, it had finally caught up to him. The scandal had exploded like an earthquake. Fraud, insider trading, bribery, millions of dollars funneled through illegal schemes. For years, the authorities had tried to take him down but never had enough evidence until now. His arrest had been a spectacle. The FBI raided his penthouse, dragging him out in handcuffs as cameras flashed. His face was plastered across every screen. The mighty Brandon Cole, brought to his knees. But was he afraid? No. He was furious. Because for the first time, he wasn't being treated like a king. He was being treated like a criminal. His legal team had fought tooth and nail to keep him out of court. Every request, every motion denied. Then he learned who the judge was. Maya Carter, a young black woman, barely in her 40s. Known for being relentless. A woman who had built her career taking down the rich and powerful. No one had ever bought her. No one had ever intimidated her. Brandon had laughed when he heard. A black woman? He had sneered in his lawyer's office. Sitting over me? You've got to be kidding. She's the best judge in the state, his lawyer warned. She's sharp. She's fair. And she hates corruption. She's not going to play games with you, Brandon. But Brandon didn't listen. In his mind, there was no way a woman, especially her, could take him down. And now, sitting in that courtroom, facing the one person who had the power to decide his fate, he made a choice. He refused to stand, refused to acknowledge her authority. And she responded with a move that stunned the entire room. The gavel's sharp strike echoed like a gunshot. All rise. Her voice rang out firmer this time. The bailiffs stepped forward. Lawyers whispered. The audience watched, wide-eyed. But Brandon? Brandon just smirked. He thought he had won. Oh, he had no idea what was coming next. The gavel's impact still reverberated, the tension in the room thick as smoke. All eyes darted between Judge Maya Carter and the man who had dared to defy her. Brandon Cole's smirk widened, full of arrogance. He thought he had put her in her place. But he didn't know Maya Carter. Without a flicker of emotion, she leaned forward, resting her elbows on the bench. Her brown eyes locked onto his, steady and unreadable. Then, in a voice so calm it sent a chill through the room, she said, Mr. Cole, you seem to be under the impression that this courtroom belongs to you. That these rules don't apply to you. That I don't apply to you. Brandon chuckled under his breath, shaking his head. That's one way to put it. Maya's lips curled into a knowing smile. Bailiff. A uniformed officer stepped forward. Yes, Your Honor? Remove Mr. Cole from my courtroom. Now. The smirk on Brandon's face disappeared. What? You heard me, Maya said, voice unwavering. Remove him. He can watch the proceedings from a holding cell. The courtroom erupted. Gasps filled the air. Defense attorneys shot to their feet. Voices overlapped. Your Honor, that's completely unnecessary. You can't do that. Brandon's voice wasn't amused anymore. It was outraged. Maya didn't even look at him. Mr. Cole has made it clear he does not respect this court, she continued. He will be held in contempt until he is ready to behave like an adult. The bailiffs stepped forward. Brandon yanked back in his seat. You touch me, and I'll sue you. But the first officer grabbed his arm. Brandon lunged. A chair scraped violently against the floor. Gasps filled the courtroom as the billionaire ripped his arm free, spinning toward the approaching officers, face burning red with rage. I dare you to lay another hand on me. Maya didn't move. She watched the scene unfold like she had seen it all before. The bailiffs? Unfazed. They had dealt with violent offenders, gang leaders, career criminals. A rich man throwing a tantrum? Nothing new. Brandon swung. That was his mistake. The courtroom exploded into chaos. The bailiffs moved like trained fighters. One wrenched Brandon's arm behind his back, the other forced him forward over the desk, pinning him. Papers flew. His expensive watch hit the floor. Get off me, he roared, struggling. His designer suit wrinkled. Do you know who I am? The courtroom sat frozen. Reporters scribbled furiously. Cameras flashed. The mighty Brandon Cole, trillionaire industry king, Wall Street god, dragged away like a common criminal. Judge Maya Carter leaned back in her chair. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. Brandon's enraged shouts echoed down the hall as the doors slammed shut behind him. Silence followed. Heavy. Unshakable. The world had just witnessed the impossible. Judge Maya Carter turned her gaze to the courtroom. Shall we proceed? She asked, calm as ever. And just like that, the case moved on. They were going to push. Maya knew at the moment she saw Hayes' face. They'll start questioning your ability to remain impartial, he warned, voice low but firm. They'll dig into your past, twist your words, anything to make you look biased. Maya's stomach clenched, but her face remained unreadable, removed. That's what Brandon wanted. This wasn't just a legal battle. It was a war fought in court and in the media. He wasn't just defending himself, he was turning the world against her. Maya met Hayes' gaze, unwavering. Are you telling me to step down? Hayes shook his head. Not yet. But you need to be careful. Do not give him any more ammunition. Maya exhaled slowly. Understood. But inside, she was already planning her next move. Brandon Cole leaned back in his private holding cell, a lazy smirk playing on his lips as he watched the news feed on the mounted screen. Exactly as planned. The media was eating it up. Reporters dissected Maya Carter's history, questioning her rulings, suggesting she had a personal vendetta against powerful men. She wasn't just the judge anymore. She was the problem. Good. That was step one. Step two? Breaking her completely. The cell door creaked open. His lead attorney, Jonathan Reeves, stepped inside, arms crossed. Looks like your little PR stunt worked, Reeves said, his tone flat. They're already talking about having her removed. Brandon chuckled. Did you really think I was just going to sit in here and let her humiliate me? Reeves didn't smile. Brandon, you need to be careful. You're winning the media war, but inside that courtroom, she still has the power. Brandon's smirk didn't waver. Not for long. Reeves hesitated. What are you planning? Brandon stood, adjusting his suit with deliberate ease. Oh, nothing, he said, voice casual, eyes sharp with something darker. Just making sure Judge Carter remembers her place. Reeves frowned. Brandon. Brandon held up a hand, cutting him off. Relax, Jonathan. I'm just going to remind her who she's dealing with. Reeves still didn't look convinced. Brandon didn't care. He had been humiliated once. It wouldn't happen again. That night, Maya Carter pulled into her driveway. Exhausted, but determined. Her meeting with Chief Justice Hayes had only confirmed what she already knew. Brandon Cole was trying to scare her. He wanted her rattled. But she wasn't afraid of him. She had faced worse. Stepping out of her car, she inhaled the crisp night air. The neighborhood was silent. the streetlights casting long shadows across the pavement. Her mind raced with everything she still needed to do. Then she saw it. A single white envelope, tucked into her doorframe. Her heart skipped a beat.